Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Marathon Conversations. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk. I'm a pediatrician and a run coach, and the founder of Mindful Marathon, where I help make running easy and fun for busy professionals. And I'm very excited to have a special guest with me today, Dr. Sara Ionescu. Dr. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thank
Um,
you so
and
much, Michelle.
yeah, thank you for being here. Would you introduce yourself to the audience first, and then we'll kind of get into a topic?
Absolutely. So, like Michelle said, my name is Dr. Sara Ionescu. I am a board certified family medicine physician. I'm a wife, a mom of four, and an exercise enthusiast. Right now, I am staying at home with my kids and putting out some content on social media, basically all around exercise and exercise consistency.
And I love to talk about that, and I love what you do. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, maybe could we go back a little bit? Maybe tell us a little bit about your journey with exercise. It can be about running or not, but I'm anxious to hear the story of your first marathon, which you were chatting about before we started.
Sure, absolutely. So I have been an athlete basically since 5 years old. I was a competitive swimmer all through college. And then after college, swimming became a sport that was just more challenging to do. And that's when I transitioned to running because, you really just needed sneakers and you can just go outside and do it. You don't have to find a pool, obviously.
Hmm.
I had done track and field in high school, but it was never my go-to sport until after college. And then I kind of got into doing some races because I found with being an athlete, I really craved that, like a little bit of competition. I found motivation lacking if I was just kind of like, oh, let me go out and go for a run. So that's when I kind of started getting into doing things like 10Ks, and I did a few half marathons. And then I moved and I met my husband, and we decided that we wanted to run the Philly Marathon. We met doing a post-bac program at Drexel. And so we lived in Philly. It was literally right there. We could train the course, and we thought, okay, we're going to do this. And we ran a lot. We didn't have a coach, didn't really know what we were doing, kind of just like Googled and made up our own training plan.
Hmm.
And I specifically was very fixated on running a specific pace, getting a specific time, which in hindsight, I think was very limiting for my enjoyment of the race in general. Because, I mean, especially with your first marathon, I think finishing is a huge goal. And that was a goal for us, but I also had this other goal, and we did it. We finished. And at the end, it was like, yay, we finished. But in the back of my head, there was also some disappointment there with I wasn't able to run every single step. I didn't maintain the pace that I planned on. And there was a little bit of negativity around that. And, that was probably, I think it was like 12 years ago at this point.
Hmm.
And since that time, I have grown significantly in my exercise journey. I have learned to celebrate things and learned how to navigate doing a little bit of exercise and still being able to, be happy about that and celebrate it, because it's so important to consistency. Because if
Yeah.
you have that, if you have that negativity there, it's just really hard to keep at it every day if your definition is set by something like I did with the marathon.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't realize it was the Philly Marathon. That's right in my backyard.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And also that course, by the way, is like it has quite a few hills. It's not,
Yes.
like part of the city is quite flat, but there's a lot of hills there too. So, yeah, yeah. But a lot of what you said, I mean, part of it hurts me a little bit that you weren't able to feel like fully that celebration in the moment, but we can celebrate it now,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know?
And I do have some dreams to do another one at some point. And
Yeah.
so for sure that one will be yay, I finished, and that will be the end of that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something really important for the people out there who maybe are dreaming of a first time marathon. We usually try not to assign any kind of numbers or time goals to it. It's easier said than done, especially for high achieving professionals, especially physicians, to
Yes,
detach yourself from the numbers and the paces and what that may or may not mean from years of, learning and taking exams and being attached to numbers. It's very difficult.
absolutely. And I think one of the things that I learned is I had to redefine what running was and what
Mhm.
exercise was, because I had these like set definitions from being an athlete when I was younger. And then as your phase of life changes, it's like, oh, I can be a runner, but also walk sometimes when I'm running. Like the
Yeah.
day that I realized that was possible, it was like, wow, why didn't I think of this before? Like, why didn't I realize that I can still call myself a runner, but I walk sometimes? Or I actually recently did like an intro to running program, and they were talking about your conversational pace. And it was like, oh, I can be talking while I'm running. Like, those
Mhm.
two things can coincide. And it
Mhm.
seems really obvious, but I think just hearing somebody else tell you it's okay. Like, you can talk while you run or jog, and that you're still a runner.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think that was sort of news to me too. And when I learned about the run walk method, that was really my way into longer distances because before that, I really thought, wow, I don't know. I really want to do longer distances, but I'm just not sure how to do that because I felt like I couldn't run more than, 4 or 5 miles straight
Right.
without walking. So that
Sure.
was like my way in. But yeah, conversation pace really opened it up for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody here who's been listening for a while, I talk about that a lot, like easy pace. And I know my runners who are listening right now are probably like, oh, there she goes again talking about the effort level. And I'm always
Love
trying to
it.
get everyone to slow down. I'm a
Right.
broken record for slowing down. And like, yes, we can do speed work and we can get faster. But the majority of the runs are actually at an easier pace. So
Right.
I'll stop talking about that now.
No, absolutely. I love that, Michelle. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Now you were saying, so you are a mom of four.
Yes.
Tell us how is that going and how are you fitting exercise in?
Absolutely. So, interestingly enough, I am finding it easier to fit it in as a mom of four than when I was a mom of one.
Oh.
It's actually gotten easier the more kids I have had. And I think that has to do, again, with me redefining exercise. So, before it was if I couldn't exercise for 30 minutes, if I wasn't super sweaty and out of breath, like okay, well, that doesn't count as exercise. And so
Mhm.
then I just wouldn't do anything that day. And so I struggled with consistency. And when I had my first daughter, I mean, there were weeks to months where I had my day to day movement, but I never had any intentional movement practice. And, that really bothered me. And so, along that postpartum journey, I started to come up with little tips for myself as to, how can I do this? How can I become consistent again? And a couple of the things I learned was connecting with why I wanted to exercise. And anytime I feel like I'm struggling to find the time, the kids are throwing tantrums, that sort of stuff, I always think about why I want to get out there. And it has to be more concrete than I want to be healthy. Because
Mhm.
everybody wants to be healthy. There has to be something for you specifically. So one thing for me was I wanted to not be short of breath carrying my kids up the stairs. And I was finding like I would get to the top of the stairs and be like, I was like gasping. I had to like take a minute and it was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm young. I should be able to do this. And so that was a big goal for me. Some of the other things I learned, like I said, redefining what exercise is, I
Mhm.
started counting even if I did a minute of something. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I exercised today
Movement.
because exactly, like anything counts. And when you have a lot of little kids that are dependent on you, moms know it's hard to find extended periods of time next to each other. So I started to learn anytime I had a moment or two when everybody was taking a nap, like throw everything else to the side. Now's the movement time.
Yep.
Um, Another thing I did was I really incorporated them, especially now that they're getting a little bigger. Like we all go outside together as a family. We walk, we run, we play. So like incorporating them into your routine makes it easier because then you have less of that. I'm taking time away from them, to
Hmm.
do stuff for me.
Yeah.
And going off of that, learning to give myself grace of I need to take time for myself because if I don't have a full cup, I can't, give to other people in the family. And so, recognizing the importance of that self care. And I mean, there are times where it'll be 6 in the morning and I'm doing my workout and everybody's I have my little audience in the back because they know if they wake up before a certain time, I'm probably going to be exercising. And so then they're going to watch and they're used to that. And they'll cheer me on and clap and these sorts of things. And so just I think including them in the process
Hmm.
has been very helpful.
Yeah, no, I love all of these tips. I mean, a lot of it when I start working with an athlete is just kind of like looking at the schedule and seeing where the pockets of time are or could be. And it might only look like 5 minutes here and there. And we build from there. But
Right, right.
yeah, and it depends on the age of the kids too. I think yeah, it's hard at certain ages. In the older kids who have maybe like a sports practice or something that they're involved in, sometimes that's a good suggestion for people. Like while they're doing their thing, you get your workout in, or if they have a swim class that you don't have to be there for, or a soccer game or whatever it is, and you don't have to be there, can you squeeze in 10, 15 minutes around the field? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And
But
I think another one too is like for people that leave the home to go to work, if you can take a break during work or during your lunchtime where, your kids are somewhere else anyway, and you could
mm,
squeeze a few minutes there. That's, another thing that I've thought about before too.
yeah, the nice thing here, I mean, we're in spring right now, and if there is a break at lunchtime, it's nice to get outside for a walk, even just some movement in the middle of the day in the
Absolutely.
sunshine. It helps everything.
Absolutely.
But I think you're right. Redefining it, redefining what that is for you and what self-care is for you at different stages is important. And we don't always take the time to really think about that.
Yeah,
But I love that.
absolutely.
And then also what you said too about giving yourself grace, like if it doesn't happen or it's maybe not what you intended for the day, but something happens and celebrate the win anyway.
Exactly, exactly. And writing the win down because then when you go back and look at it, it's like, "Oh my gosh, like look at all the things I've done." Then
Yeah.
you really have a, concrete evidence that you're taking care of yourself and doing the best you can.
Yeah, yeah, and I will say too, I mean, I don't think any runner really has, we can't follow the training plan like 100%, even if it's written down and we're trying. Like no one's gonna get there,
Absolutely.
even the elite runners.
Right, exactly. Stuff's gonna go wrong and you gotta just keep rolling.
Exactly, that's life.
Yeah.
Well, any parting words of wisdom before I let you go?
Um,
Advice for those out there with young kids, maybe?
Yeah, I think keep giving yourself hugs, keep giving yourself celebration of those wins, and just take a breath and remember the phase of life that you're in because it's so important to enjoy that phase. And I spent a lot of time, like I said, with my first daughter, really almost beating myself up because I wasn't exercising the way that I wanted to.
Mhm.
And, for a first time mom that has one kid, like that's what I would want somebody to say to me is like, take a breath, do what you can, enjoy this time. Anything that you can do that's movement absolutely counts. Just take that minute to redefine it. I think that's so important for your mindset and for just how you feel as a mom, as a person, all of that.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing advice. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your perspective.
Absolutely. Sure.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely. So I now have a website and I'm going to be emailing out some free newsletters. So if anybody is interested in that, it's Dr. So DR, and then my name, Sara, Sara, Ionescu, Ionescu.com. And then for social media stuff, so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those things, it's the same. Oh, YouTube, it's the same everywhere, which is just Dr. Sara Ionescu.
Thank you. And I'll leave the link to your website and your social media handles below so people can easily click from here to there.
Okay, awesome. And thank you so much for having me on, Michelle. This was so fun.
Oh gosh, my pleasure. And hopefully we will run a race together in West Virginia or Philly or somewhere in between.
Yeah, so my dream is to do the Philly Marathon again. So maybe we can make that happen sometime.
We can definitely make that happen.
Okay, awesome.
All right. And thanks everyone for listening. And we will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you liked it, please subscribe and share it with a friend. And if you are a newer runner or a runner who hasn't run in a while and you're looking to get back into the sport, you can find out how to work with me over on my website, which is mindful-marathon.com. See you on the next episode.